And we're live.
Oh, are we? Nice. How does the That's so good. Just looking at it in the thing. I
Oh,
love that a silent voice.
that's so stupid.
So good though. Okay,
Okay.
whatever. All right. On today, we're here. Hey now, harmonica.
Hello.
Yeah, we're doing this podcast on A Silent Voice, which is a film I recommended to Ice, uh, about 4.5 years ago. The last time we did our podcast. So
4 months ago to the day.
4 months ago to the day.
Yeah,
So yeah, I don't know. So let's do the run. Well, first of all, what did you think?
I thought it was pretty good. The themes that it tackled were pretty like heavy hitting, and a lot of the animation around it like definitely supported it. Well, at least from like a visual perspective, like how the shots were all set up. Um, I didn't think that anything special about like any of the sign or any of the sounds or like with the characters design in any particular way. I don't like anime as a general style, so it was definitely a challenge for me to get into this movie. But all in all, it was pretty good. Like I liked what it had to say, and I'll praise it for that.
So and it is, there's obviously that disconnect between us because I do like the anime style and this like sort of style particularly like the slice of life sort of anime style.
Hmm.
Um, so I like that aspect of it. But yeah yeah. So let's start. How did you think of how it began? He is very quickly. You see him doing some stuff, right? He's in an
Hmm.
empty room. He leaves some money for his mom, and then he goes to a bridge and he stands on the edge.
Yeah, I thought that it was a quite a way to start off a movie. It was like, oh, we're just getting right into the, you know, right into the midst of things and how what this movie's trying to say.
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
personally, when
yeah.
I'm watching an animated movie, one of the big things that I ask myself is why is this movie animated and how is it going to use the animation as a strength that a normal like filmed movie wouldn't be able to do? How does it use the visual medium as a strength? And that is definitely something that I kind of want to think about as we're going through this review. That I'll probably discuss at the end.
So I think that I don't know necessarily know if you have to justify yourself animating it, choosing to make an animated movie. I mean, this sort of slice of life anime is very common anyway. It's just like, maybe you're an anime artist and you write a story. It's like, why is that story anime? Well, because that's your art form.
I think you're asking the question like a little bit backwards. It's not like, oh, why are we animating this story? I'm saying, how are you using the medium to its greatest effect?
Yeah, I think that that's definitely a better way.
Mhm.
You're right. You're right. What could you have done in this medium that you couldn't have done in other mediums?
Yeah.
Like obviously, like a live action film, the answer would be like facial expressions.
Hmm.
I mean, like just human emotion can be conveyed much better.
Hmm.
Like in so you could do that.
Yep.
You
And
really have to exaggerate
it
things in
makes
animation.
connecting with the characters easier in a grand scope of things. While animated movies, you can pay much finer attention to detail because everything is purposeful. And it allows you to create more fantastical or otherworldly scenes or worlds that these characters can explore. That is another like that's more of like a genre thing, not like a medium thing. But yeah.
So we did hit present mode, by the way. You're like there is a present mode, you know.
Oh, what is it?
Yeah, yeah. The like you see how
Mhm.
yeah, it says slide. It should say slideshow in like the top
Present.
right.
Oh,
You see
slideshow.
that?
There we go.
Yeah.
It's going to be cutting off like bits of the edges, but whatever.
Yeah, a lot of them have the edges cut off anyway.
Okay.
Hi, Gray. Uh, so the movie after we get this little beginning, and the movie's letting you know, hey, this character's trying to kill himself.
Hmm.
We get a little flashback to his childhood, and he's a teenager now in high school, but to his like middle school years basically, or elementary school even.
Hmm.
And I mean that's kind of a common thing in filmmaking, right? To start and then give you like a little bit of prologue after you meet the main character.
Yeah, it's like the flashback. Like we're
Right.
living, especially for a moment like this. I kind of like that as a artistic choice because this moment of standing at the bridge is such an impactful moment to this character.
Right.
Like it almost justifies or makes the going back, reliving the moments that he regrets so much better.
And you get to see through the buildup of this, him giving the money to his mom, that sort of thing,
Hmm.
his empty room. You see like, oh, this is a moment that he's been building. He's planned this suicide. This isn't like an impromptu thing.
Yeah.
And uh, and now we're getting to see, okay, why is his life so bad that he's planning to kill himself? And by the way, we had this whole discussion on that darn kitty's channel last Thursday. We had a big discussion about this, about MAID in Canada,
Hmm.
like medically assisted suicide. And yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you were kind of with me. I mean, you were raised Christian and I wasn't, but I was like, it's morally wrong, not just like harmful.
Hmm.
But we don't have to get into that because this is a movie. This is a movie podcast. Yeah, we get to see his flashback, and he's hanging out with his friends, and the teacher's got a new girl to introduce.
Hmm.
And
She's a
you and
she's a special girl.
I get told that all the time. Uh, yeah, you get to see. So she comes in. The teacher's like, "Hey, introduce yourself, Kyoya," or he's Kyoya. She's Chu. They're both nicknamed Chu, but uh, and she holds up a notebook and she starts. You get to read the words in the notebook. Um,
Except I can't read
and
the words in the notebook because it's
yeah, you get to
Japanese.
read the words in the subtitles, but
Yeah.
it's hi. If you want to talk to me, please use this. My name is uh Kinchu or whatever Japanese name is.
So
Um, and I'm deaf.
So there was a big problem that I had that with watching this movie that is a big disconnect between me and the movie. So I
You
watched
don't know
this.
sign language.
No, well I don't, but um I'm nearsighted. So
Yeah.
if I'm not at my computer screen, I can't actually read subtitles.
Oh, really?
No.
Well, put on your glasses, idiot.
I I actually missed half the subtitles during this movie because whenever they looked important, like from a electronic
But
device or something,
you
I
were
would
you were
have to
listening.
get
You were
up.
watching the English dub, right?
No,
You were watching it in Japanese.
yeah,
You idiot.
or no, no, no. I mean, no, not the Japanese. The English dub, yes, but like, if there was ever like a sign like this that came
Yeah,
up, it was translated into subtitles, and I had to get up off my couch, walk over to the TV to try to read it.
dude. What? Where are your glasses? You don't always have them on.
No, I don't.
Oh my god. Get a grip. What is going on here? Yeah, that's. I mean, if you're reading a movie that was originally animated in Japanese and part of it is reading, you're gonna have some issues. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I would think about that for the future.
yeah. This is the first time it's ever really been an issue.
Uh, well,
I was
get
able to
used to it.
pick up on some context by what was going on, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. So, we learn she's deaf, like, and just like with anything special, the first day everyone's really interested, right?
Mhm.
I mean, they're all writing down, but eventually people get annoyed, and eventually they start bullying her.
Oh no.
Yeah, and our main character Shoya is like the cool kid. and he bullies her the most.
Mhm.
And eventually she feels alienated because she can't hear, and people start getting sick of using her notebook.
Mhm.
So uh she gets what do you hearing aids.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, right? She's deaf. You get some hearing aids.
Yeah. She
And as
just
soon as
wanted
she
to
gets,
interact with people.
yeah. So one of the ways, you find this out, he shouts in her ear, she freaks out, and that's how they learn she has hearing aids now. And they keep bullying her, but now how they're bullying her is they're actually damaging or losing her hearing aids. They're pulling them out of her ears.
Yeah, so like that was a big part of the show, at least later on as a payoff when he rips the hearing aid out of her ear and scars her ear for it. And
Yeah,
then
I didn't know
um
any hearing aids were connected.
I didn't either, but um he ends up like throwing them and then they get damaged and the school has to do like a bullying investigation or something.
And the teacher, who's like this quiet guy that they're making fun of, eventually she she doesn't come into school, and they give like a big speech about who is bullying her. If anybody knows, tell us. And their teacher is super pissed.
Hmm.
He's like, show ya, I know it's you, stand up. And he asked the other class and all his classmates who were bullying her with him, he becomes their scapegoat.
Yeah. Now this
And
was a part of the film that I didn't understand is like Shoya becomes like hated after this moment.
well, he's a snitch.
Okay, okay, fair, I guess. It's like he kind of like went down for everyone, and then everyone started hating him because he bullied her.
Well, because the teacher already called him out, and then he, after being called out, and everyone else is fine with, like, okay, yeah, you'll take the fall. But after that, he starts throwing blame around, rightfully so, by the way. I mean, they were
Yeah,
all guilty,
yeah, everyone was.
but people start hating him because of him throwing the blame around.
Okay, that must have just been something that was mistranslated some later on because I picked it up different. I
Uh,
guess.
but also, there was a second thing, like after he bullies her enough, like after school that day, they get into a fight when they're cleaning desks,
Hmm.
and they get into a physical fight, and he bullies her so bad, he throws her in the water. He gets into a fight with this girl, and she has to transfer schools.
Yeah.
And it might also be that it might be that he was called out, and then he started getting physical with her.
Hmm.
Oh, and by the way, he has to um after his classmates, he calls out his classmates, they throw him in the pond, and his mother gets a call from the school saying that her son's been bullying a girl.
Yeah.
So, and this is a part of the movie I liked. His mother, who is poor, I mean, she's a hairdresser, right? So she's not super poor, but she's not like
Yeah.
wealthy by any means. She goes down, she drives down, she withdraws the money for all the hearing aids. I think they said 6 hearing aids were broken.
Yep. Yeah. It was
And
6 or 8. I don't remember which, but yeah.
yeah, so they have to drive down to the girl's house that he's been bullying, and she talks to Shoya's mom. Shoya's the girl, or
Hmm.
Shoko's the girl. So she talks to Shoka's mom, and yeah, they have to she has to give her all the money, but then the mom, you don't hear any of this, but you see the mom gesture to the ear,
Hmm.
and that's when Shoya uh walks away. He sees the girl, whatever, whatever, but when he sees his mom again, she's bleeding from her ear where her earring used to be.
Yeah.
And you realize that she didn't just pay for the hearing aid. either she ripped out or she let the mom rip out an earring to pay for the physical damage too, like some sort of justice.
Hmm.
And it is brutal to see his mom come back with
That
the
was like, I was like, oh geez, when I saw that scene, I was not expecting that. And it
and
like shocked
his
me.
mom also clearly knew that he also was getting bullied.
Hmm.
Like, yeah. But they go home, we flash back to the present, and he decides not to jump.
Hmm.
And he comes home and his mom who got his suicide note and his money.
Yep. And
And the
she's
money
like,
was,
"What the fuck are you doing? Like, you planning to kill yourself? Like," and she tries to get him to take the money because, like, if he takes the money, then he, I don't know, would need it or something. Trying to be in like denial, like, "Hey, you aren't gonna do this."
well, if he takes the money, then he still owes her. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things was he was working to pay off his mom for all the money that he owed her.
Ah,
So, and the money is supposedly from this incident. So
okay.
they said hearing aids are expensive. So I don't know how expensive, but probably pretty expensive. And yeah, that he and she tries to give him back the money so that way he still owes her. And she drops it in the fire. Hijinks ensue. But
She's
you
yeah.
know,
That whole scene, I thought it was a bit weird, where she like accidentally lit the money on fire. And then he's like, by his mom, like, no, wait, wait, you're burning it. And she's like, so busy, like, talking to him that she doesn't even notice. Like, I thought
yeah,
that was, I was like, okay.
yeah. But again, that is part of the over the top sort of.
Hmm.
They're trying to split the baby in this film. They're trying to say we want a serious tragedy and a comedy, and it
Yeah,
sometimes it works just fine. Sometimes it doesn't. So
everything everywhere all at once plugin.
yeah, okay. Everywhere, everyone, where all at once was not nearly as serious as this film gets. I'm gonna be honest.
I I think it does, but like, let's just
It
stick
ge- it
with
gets it gets way it gets way goofier
it.
too.
It does.
It's well, okay, so now we get to see Shoya's high school life, and he has no friends. He's had no friends since this incident.
Hmm.
He's a loner. He's got like horrible anxiety. He doesn't even look people in the eyes. He doesn't know any of his classmates.
And that's where the X's come in. Woo.
Yeah. So, oh, by the way, when you said how does a film use its visual style to its advantage?
Yes,
What
this
did you think
was
about
it.
that?
I loved it. I loved that part. Like the literally just the part and how he commonly refers to them as they're just people without faces. Cause and how he walks with like staring at the ground. Because it's like everyone who just doesn't have an X doesn't, or everyone who has an X over their face just doesn't matter to him.
And a lot of people that he knows and that shouldn't have X's do. So he's
Hmm.
blocking out like everyone but four people, right? I mean, he has his mom, he has his niece, his sister, and his brother-in-law,
Hmm.
and everyone besides that is X'd out.
Yep.
So yeah, totally not nothing. And I think you're right. And people that he's talking to sometimes have the X's. People that he feels alienated from.
Hmm.
So it's a very yeah. This is excellent. His social anxiety feels very real. I mean, at parts it doesn't.
Yeah, no.
At parts it's silly, like when he's sitting at his desk, like miming what people are thinking. But walking down the hallway and feeling very uncomfortable with all these strangers is very real.
That is, yeah. Mental health is important.
And that's what this movie's about.
Yeah.
Actually, okay, that's something. Do you think a suicide movie that doesn't actually show a successful suicide is better than one that does?
I think that
Because
the a movie about suicide doesn't really matter. It's about the character themselves. What does the action do for the character
Well,
more
I
than what
mean
it
that
does for the story?
you know how the TV show 13 Reasons Why increased the suicide rate? Because
Um,
movies that like or like when celebrities commit suicide, there's a spike in suicide.
yeah,
So do you think that if you show like instead of showing people commit suicide, you show someone who decides not to, and that they get to build
that
up their
that does
life?
more. That does way more.
Yeah,
Because like with 13 Reasons Why, it was almost like an attention grab. Like people thought, oh, like people will actually start to care after I'm dead. Which 13 Reasons Why was just an awful show that really shouldn't probably it probably should have been designed differently.
well, yeah, and it is like sort of like and third like people who commit suicide a lot of times have this delusion that they'll be able to see how people react, even though like obviously they can't.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like, and I told you so.
yeah, right, but so they'll be like, "Ha!" Then they'll see, even though you have no idea how people will react.
Yeah,
So 13 Reasons Why like actually feeds that fantasy.
I think it's not so much that they think like, hey, I'll be able to see how they react. It's more of like a almost like denial, like they can't ignore me if I do this.
Yeah,
I think it's more of like the mental health side of things where they're just in denial or straight up delusion about the world around them and what others think. Because oftentimes those people are so focused on themselves at the same time that they almost think that other
yeah.
people think the same way.
Depression is selfish.
It is. It quite literally is. I mean, in the act of suicide,
It's a
wherever
selfish
you're,
act.
yeah, like no matter where you stand on it, morale from a morale perspective, it is a selfish act.
I wonder, like most people that commit suicide, like obviously there's somebody that cares about them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but even if they think that nobody does, how many people in the world do you think actually have zero? Like nobody.
Me.
No, you have your parents, you have your brother. I've.
Fair.
How many people in the world do you think literally like me and you both have families? How many people do you think have no families, no friends?
How many crazy aunts are in the world?
Aunts have families by definitions.
Probably not many people then.
Yeah, right? Like, I mean, I don't think anybody will be able to commit suicide without people
Mhm.
being like, "Oh, that's kind of a weird feeling that I know this guy that committed suicide." But I wonder how many people that in the world could commit suicide and nobody would feel obligated to go to their funeral.
Mhm.
Like a very Eleanor Rigby type person.
Yeah,
Like, do you think it's less than 1,000?
I
At the
I
very,
honestly couldn't put an exact number on it.
it, they've got to be super old, right?
It's
And
like yeah,
and
like
like
that's what
people
I was
that are
thinking
old
is
and never had
older
any
people.
kids.
People who are old and have had most of their family die and but don't have the freedom or like liberty to go out on their own and have their own type of life.
But even those people, they usually have like help. They have like nurses, right? They have
Yeah, like a
friends.
nursing home. Well, maybe friends, but even then, I feel like if you have friends, how often are you actually seeing them if you're in that state?
So at the very like even those people like people in nursing homes like there's still somebody. There's still like the nurses who become
Hmm.
like that must be a rough job by the way working in hospice.
Yeah,
Oof.
that I couldn't imagine working in that line.
Yeah. So even those people have at least one. Like the amount of people that have zero, it's rough.
Hmm.
And I it must be minuscule. But anyway, now that we're this is sad. Uh, by the way, uh, okay, so in the movie now we realize that there's one more person that Shoya has to make right with before he can commit suicide.
Hmm.
Uh, he has to go make right with Shoka, the girl he was bullying. So he sets out to find her, and he goes to her school, like or whatever, and he's greeted by this kid.
I actually
Uh,
really like this character.
oh, I love this character too. Like, oh, this is a quintessential tomboy, and my arch enemy Blaine's Escape Corner on YouTube said that he did an anime tomboy stream, and he said that she wasn't really a tomboy.
I don't even care if she was like a tomboy or not. It was um very like almost like personable character. Like you don't see many. I don't know how to describe it. It felt like a real character, like someone that you could actually connect with. They were very unique, very individual. They had their own like little things going on. Like this character really loved photography, and that constantly showed throughout the film.
Yeah, yeah, and you even see this this is the opening shot the first time you meet her, and
Hmm.
oh, it's a her by the way.
Okay.
She says it's a he. Okay, so she introduces herself. She goes, "I'm Shoko's boyfriend," and obviously Shoya's like, "This is weird. You're
Yeah.
clearly much younger than her." And then she slams the door in his face, and he leaves. But he finds Shoka in the hallway, and she sees him and freaks out and runs away.
Yep.
And he chases her down,
It's like a
and
dog.
she gets in the fetal position, and he just taps her shoulder. She's like, "I'm returning this to you,"
Hmm.
and she starts to like cry because
Hmm.
obviously this is like kind of a this is like her bully making right with her, and she's a very like caring person.
Hmm. This is
Uh,
also like she probably doesn't even completely understand what's going on.
yeah, yeah, he didn't say he said almost nothing to her,
Yeah.
and then all actually all he says in this scene to her because she's deaf, he signs, "Can me and you be friends?"
Hmm.
And that's what gets her to cry.
Yeah.
And then she goes, "How'd you learn to sign?" He goes, "I took a class." And when he signs that, "Me and you be friends," he realizes that years and years ago, she asked him to be friends, and he didn't understand what she was saying back then, so he bullied her because he thought he was making fun of her for not being able to talk.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And now here he is later on his own free will, like learning that.
yeah, and making right, trying to make right with her.
Yeah.
Um, so after that, he goes on, he tries to be a better person in the world, and he sees this kid being bullying. He doesn't know this kid, or he doesn't think he knows this kid,
Hmm.
and the bully is trying to steal this kid's bike. So instead of like, he all he does is he gives the bully his bike instead, and he walks home.
Hmm.
Uh, and the bully jacks his bike. But later on, this kid that he helps finds his bike and he returns it to him, and not like a menial like he is on a mission to return this bike. And this little fat kid becomes his first friend in the world.
Yeah. He was pretty fucking clingy though. It's like he was always like going on about being best friends with him. And our main character Shoya, I think it is. He's like, dude, I like don't even know you. To be fair, Shoya wasn't even trying. Like, this was just somebody around, and Shoya didn't know what the fuck to do with a friend. And he actively, like, straight up even tells him that was like, what? He's like, we're friends now. He's like, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's Tomiro. It's Tomoro.
Yeah,
Tomoero.
Toma.
Tomoero. Okay,
Yeah.
Toma or whatever. This becomes his first friend since he and he's kind of a sweet character. He's kind of cringy, right? But
Hmm.
they both just made their first friend in like the world, and they've got each other's backs. So Shoko or Shoya tries to pursue Shoko, um, and eventually he gets past the little sister, um, and there he meets her by the bridge to like feed some ducks and whatnot. And the little sister hates him.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and they start to reconnect. They start to get to know each other again. And one day, Shoya finds the little sister, her name is Yuzura. He finds Yuzura like sleeping in a playground.
Hmm.
Um,
I have to change sides sometime.
yeah,
Oh, but it's wait, that's a bread scene. Okay.
yeah. Yuzura is like wet and cold, and he takes her in. And when he takes her in, he finds out that she's a girl, and she finds out that she's uh, Shoko's little sister. And the reason that she hated him was because she knew who he was.
Mm-hmm.
But although she was too young in the incident, so she hated him because her mom hates him. And she was kicked out of her house. Do you remember why she was kicked out of her house?
Wasn't it
Or she
because
ran away.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
Was it because she turned him away? Oh no, she took the picture of him jumping into the water and posted it online, and he got like suspended from school for that.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then Shoka was really mad at her for that.
Yeah, and she like gets to a point where she's like, I'll hang out with whoever I want.
Yeah.
She
Oh yeah. Yeah, she so this girl at first she's like his worst enemy, but eventually after this scene where like he takes her in, he brings her home, her mom sees that she's hanging out with him, but she doesn't care. She's really doing she's awesome. She's
yeah.
sort of like she reminds me of Arya Stark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now they're cool.
Mm.
And time goes on. Yeah. Oh, were you saying something?
No. Uh,
Yeah. Time. You keep starting to say something.
no, it wasn't.
All right, whatever. You were making noise. Uh, and I think this rain scene is another really great scene. I mean, it's a little exaggerated how she signs little sister to him, and he's like, "Oh my God, you're not a boy." But I like the scene where you see her mom in the distance in the rain,
Mhm.
and she just stares him down because like, hey, you're the reason my little girl was bullied. You ripped the thing out of her ear.
This shot
Uh,
in particular, I do kind of want to say nothing. Um, from like an artistic perspective, is how much smaller she is than him. Like,
yeah,
she's almost half as thick as he is. Like, he's thick. Even their heads, like, his head is almost like twice the size as hers. And he's significantly taller. Like, um, talk about like a show, but that, like, talked about a power dynamic between the two of them. That could be
yeah,
reason
she
behind
she
it.
she does look. I didn't even notice that until you pointed it out.
Yeah, like,
I feel it doesn't. I don't think it looks this way in most of the scenes. That's so weird. Like, it
this
looks
is
like a kind of.
so unrealistically proportioned. It is kind of funny.
I feel like in most of the. Let me look at the group scene. In the group scene, it looks a little bit. She looks way more realistic.
Mhm.
But
There's also like, especially with the size of their heads, like so,
also the fat kid is hilariously proportioned.
like her head is a much bigger compared to like the rest of her body here, which I know from like a
Than his is.
stylistic, yeah, it's much more like a stylistic choice when you want to show something as being more cutesy in um animation, like you will increase the head size in general because it more resembles that of like a young child or something, while he is much more like broad at the shoulders. There's a lot more width at his shoulder in his neck region than hers, which is much more of like a symbol of power. And that is why I believe that this shot is very intentional to almost have like an underlying power diameter or power to whatever behind them.
Oh, you think this is intentional? You think it's
Yeah,
showing that she is. Oh, so this is the scene where she tries to confess her love, and she
to
to Shoko tries to confess to Shoya, right?
I didn't
and
think that they ever tried to confess their love to each other.
oh, she tries to speak it out loud, but he
Oh,
doesn't understand her. She tries to say I love you or I like you.
okay. I figured I
Do
did
you not?
get I like you. I did get I
I
like
like
you.
you.
Yeah.
So she's telling him that he's interested in her, that she's interested in him, and
Oh.
so you that you might be onto something by saying it's intentional because she's being vulnerable in this scene and he doesn't
Mhm.
understand. So she's like
I
shrinking.
always imagine their friendship in a more endearing way rather than like a romantic way.
I hate that because it's clearly romantic.
Okay.
Maybe not. Maybe you don't. But I think. I mean, it's not that kind of show. Like, it's about their inner selves, not their like
Mhm.
outer relationships, sort of.
Yeah.
So, you can kind of make of it what you want.
Mhm.
But yeah, so they're really close at this point. They go to the city. This might actually happen beforehand, but later on they go to the big city to find their friend from uh, elementary school, who was the only girl who was nice to Shoya.
Mhm. Yep.
So, and she was like the little nerdy girl, and now she's like super tall and thin,
Mhm.
and they're like fast friends. And while they're in the city, they run into this girl.
Something I really disliked about this character, and they did it a couple other times to a few other of the other female characters, but in the introductory shot of the person, how it like the cameras would linger over the person in like a slow-mo kind of like not necessarily in like a sexual way, but like almost in a sexual way. If
Like a pan shot.
yeah, it was like a pan shot that it showed very accentuated parts of their bodies.
Yeah, that is true, but I do think that in some degree to some extent the male friend who he meets in his school,
Hmm.
the friend of the blonde girl, he kind of gets something similar to that when the X
Yeah,
peels off of his face.
he does. Yes.
It's not quite the same because it's more focused on his face, but he does get like a slow-mo introduction shot. But you're
Well,
right, that
like with
that that is a stylistic choice that I'm not like a big fan of either.
I didn't like it because it maybe you could find like a show or movie to put that in, but it's definitely not a show that is tackling issues of mental health or like
Yeah,
finding value in oneself.
I think you're right.
Because like this show intentionally goes to like um almost show that like visual attributes or physical disabilities do not really matter much. It's about like how you feel and how you treat other people.
Sure.
Yeah, so
So her name is Noka, I think. Naoka. Um, she is the main bully girl from their elementary school, and she was basically like Shoya's girlfriend
Mhm.
back when they were bullying her, and she was like one of the first to turn on him. And
Oh
she
yeah.
comes up to yeah, she sees him. She comes up to him. Oh, actually, he came to her first.
Hmm.
Um, uh, she sits on the back of his bike, and they start talking a little bit, and then she sees Shoka standing across the street, and she goes, "Oh my God, is that Shoka? What a coincidence! Doesn't she suck?"
Yeah.
And then Shoya is like, "Get off my bike," because he realizes that she's still an awful person,
Mhm. And from
and
there on,
she
this
gets to see that they're together.
from there on, the entire social interaction is just a game to Shoka because she like
Sh-
goes to rate. She like tries to get across the street to Shoya first, so
Yeah, yeah,
like she can kind of get the first words and set the conversation, and she like is intentionally sabotaging it.
yeah. She sucks,
She
but she
does.
sucks on purpose. Like they want her to suck.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we have that, we get another antagonistic character, uh, Shoka and Yuzuru's mom.
Hmm.
We've seen her before, but now they okay. Shoko and Yuzuru bring Shoya into bake a cake for their grandma.
Yep.
And she walks in, and the house is, look at all the house is covered with pictures of dead things. And that's Yuzura's photography is all of dead things. And and their mom freaks out when she sees him in here.
Mhm.
She says, "Get that boy out of my house." They don't. They talk her into letting him stay,
Mhm.
but it's very tense the whole time. He wants to leave. They kind of
Mhm.
make him stay too.
Yeah.
But okay, so this is the point in the movie where, they've built everything up. They've reconnected some pieces, and now they get to hang out like as one big group. And when they try to hang out as one big group, everything kind of falls apart. And why does it fall apart? Naoko, or God, what is her name?
I don't know.
It's Noka, whatever.
Nauka? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. They're hanging out as a group. Most of them are really chill, and she sabotages everything. What happens is, uh, someone lets up that they used to bully Shoko,
Hmm.
and they get really antagonistic with each other. They start throwing things around, and eventually, what happens is the blonde girl, their blonde friend, her name, God, what the heck? I have no idea what her name is. So their blonde friend, they say she used to bully her too, and she does the crying thing she did.
Yeah.
Miki, they say used to bully her too, and then she breaks down in tears, her crocodile tears. She goes, "I never bullied her, or not as bad as you guys did." And whatever, they all disperse. Shoya says a bunch of mean things about everybody there. They all
She's just
leave.
next. Yeah.
He was an absolute ass.
He was an honest ass, though.
Yeah, he was right. I mean, look at this group shot. Look at how tiny the fat friend is. Like, even if we give that Shoya is like 6'3", like what does that make him? Like 3'7"?
Were the
Is
two
he meant?
characters?
Is he meant to be a dwarf?
Where are the two characters in the back? Right? Were those supposed to be main characters?
Kinda.
Okay.
The blonde friend and her friend. They
Yeah.
weren't main characters. They were like what do you like the like third characters,
Like
tertiary. They were
hardly
they were they
characters.
were they were tertiary characters. Yeah. But yeah, they weren't quite the deuteragamous but yeah, this all falls apart. Um, he starts crying in the corner to himself because he's so self-pitying. It's kind of annoying in the scene how self-pitying he is.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about anybody. All he cares about is he wants to hang out with Shoko. And they do. And throughout the summer, they have a lot of fun. He tries to make it the best summer of her life after her grandma dies. And eventually they get to maybe New Year's festival, something like that. No, not New Year's. End of summer festival.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of fireworks, and they're wearing traditional dresses, and then she leaves. And
She
I'm not gonna
dips.
spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil anything after that because that is a great point in the movie.
Yeah. Um. That scene though, the fireworks scene,
Yeah,
best scene in the movie.
by far, it's actually uh, they kind of make a very suspenseful thing happen, and I think that uh,
Mhm. An ad
it,
break.
That's pretty masterful.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he goes back to the apartment, like that suspense is crazy. Like for a movie that I mean, you've kind of brought me down to the point where thinking it's not as great as I thought it was. Even after that, yes, Jab, we're talking about some weeb stuff.
So her name is Shoya, right? Yeah, yeah.
No, her name is Shoko. His
Shoko.
name is
Oh,
Shoya.
Shoya. Okay.
Yeah, so
So
they're both named Shu.
this scene, the fireworks scene, was the first scene that I actually started to almost see Shoko as a character.
You're right. She's like kind of a plot device for Shoya.
Yeah, like most of the like Shoya, the guy with the nice hair who bullied her. He was the only like real character I felt in this moment up until this moment, and then she also became like a real character at this moment. The
Well,
friend was
you
the.
have to realize that in the entire movie,
Mhm.
it's actually I kind of like how that happens because he is still very in his own head. He's
He
still
might be, but that doesn't mean that you should leave the other characters up to try, especially when like actually because the sister and the friend, best the guy's best friend, when they had some real characterization to them before this. Like some of those what I would call secondary characters got more characterization than she did.
I think that I don't know how true that is. This is definitely a point where you start to feel for her a lot, but I don't know if it's the only point where she becomes a character.
At least I started to sympathize with her. To be fair, I also was like, this was the scene when I really started paying attention to the
Yeah, yeah, you didn't have your
movie.
glasses.
And
Okay, yeah,
I was like, oh, I was really bored out of my mind because it's like, this is watching an anime. And I was like, I'm getting so far into anime. I was like, oh, wait, something's happening.
yeah.
The exaggerated lighting in the scene, too, was really good from the fireworks. Like, it was used to great effect here. Another
Yes.
strength. Um,
From this scene to like kind of like cringy, the very end, like the last 30 seconds, is a little cringy. But but from this point, the fireworks to what happens next,
mhm.
amazing. I think that this elevates the movie to another level.
Yes.
Like most movies don't get a scene like this in it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
So do you want to do final thoughts? Because we're not going to spoil anything after this. Because this is a movie where I think the ending should be saved.
A shady voice. Highly recommend. You highly recommend it. I'm glad it exists.
Okay.
I am really glad this movie exists. It has a cool story to tell. He did a really good job at it.
Yeah.
Personally,
The
not for
X's.
me, but it was
You're
good.
right. And once again, I think the X's. Um, I mean that's you. I guess you could do it in a live action. It'd be weird though. Yeah, the X's is amazing. What do you want to give it like a rating?
6.5.
Yeah, I think if I like how okay, so Jab in the chat right now. He joins us
Rewind.
47. He joins us 47 minutes in the stream. He's like recap the entire movie.
That's you can rewind for that.
Yeah. Well, okay. Depressed kid who used to bully people tries to reconnect with them.
Yay!
And he's very he was ostracized because of his bullying. He tries to become a more uh what do you call it when someone's like
He's
pro?
literally
He
trying
tries to
to
become a more pro social. He's trying to
hold on.
grow as a person.
He literally is trying to reconcile his past mistakes, and
Yeah.
in doing so, he's able to find a friend where he didn't think he would have one.
Yeah. And he starts to see beyond himself is another thing. Because
Yes.
he was kind of a selfish ass.
Yes.
And he grows from that.
Mm-hmm.
Um honestly, what would you say was it 6.1 or 6.3?
6.5.
6.5. And also remember our rating systems are different. Um
6.5, like 6.57, like that's a solid good for me. Like a 6 to 7, that is a good.
Yeah, you realize, but again, I sort of have a philosophy. I restate this every episode. My philosophy about movies is that you rate them on a perfect bell. So like 5, 6 is like where the average movie would fall.
The average good movie would fall. Average movie is literally 5.
Yeah, a 5 is where the average movie. To me, my philosophy is movies get a movie can get so much more bad than it can get good.
Mhm.
So so my graph is like right skewed. So I
Mhm.
give this movie like an 8.3.
Yes, 8.3 for me would be almost like that. That would be almost like masterpiece level for me.
Yeah, and so if we sort of grade our scales, an 8.3 for you would probably be uh like a 7.5, and a
Mm-hmm.
6.5 for you for me would probably be like a s- a 7.2 or
Because,
something like that.
yeah, like
Well, actually,
you
it's
have
it's more
this.
it's more like you like okay if we like average our scales out, it's more like you think it's a 7.2 and I think it's a
Mhm.
7.8.
I have Lord
So
of the Rings
it's
at a
not that
9.
different.
I have a Lord of the Ring. I have Lord of the Rings at a 9.
As a trilogy, you have it as a 9.
Yes.
As a I think actually as a trilogy, it gets elevated even higher. Like I think like Return of the King is like a 9. That's pretty like a pretty solid answer. As a trilogy, I think it's a 9.5.
Mm.
So you
Oh,
probably actually think it's better than I do if we average our scales together.
maybe
Yeah.
because it's like a bell curve that you can never really reach the extremes for me. Quite literally.
Yeah. So that was a silent voice.
Yeah, really good
Um,
one.
what do you want to do next week or next time we do a podcast? Probably not next week.
I'm free next week, but
Yeah. Oh yeah.
since we did a silent voice and you recommended an anime, I'm going to recommend Spirited Away for next week.
Yeah. That sounds cool. Spirited Away, I like that. Um,
I think you
I'll make sure to
will.
watch it.
I think you will love that movie. If you love this and you like anime styles, like you will love Spirited Away. Like I enjoyed Spirited Away.
Yeah, I think that yeah. Let's see. I'm guessing you're right. Yeah. Do you wanna? I mean, I know we're not. We never do like shout outs at the end. But like, what's your main channel? What do you do?
Oh, my main channel?
Yeah.
Oh, I right now I'm not doing anything, but I usually do gaming content on my main channel,
It's
J. Um,
you know, sus, specifically what game do you specialize in?
I was doing a lot of Celtic Heroes content on
Celtic
that.
number 3 Celtic Heroes YouTuber on the platform, Ice J.
Yes.
That's how
Um,
I always. That's how I introduce you at the group stream I do. I go. I always say I do a podcast with the number 3 Celtic Heroes YouTuber on the platform. I say Jay.
uh, he has 120 subscribers.
Yeah, that makes you the number 3 Celtic Heroes YouTuber.
um, I do. Although I am going to be doing a lot of Silk Song content when that releases,
Yeah,
because
and he's like the number 1,207 Silk Song YouTuber on the platform. So it really goes down as soon as you get into like the more mainstream games.
oh yeah, like for some reason my Minecraft videos didn't get any views.
Yeah, well, when you're like one of 5 Celtic Heroes YouTubers and you're one of 5 million Minecraft YouTubers.
Yeah, that is true.
That's the market, baby.
Yeah.
And I do Dungeons and Dragons. Except recently I had to delete my video because my audio wasn't going through, and it was a very narration heavy session. So that means there was awkward silence for most of it.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate.
I might also do some more Celtic Heroes content again when they're planning on dropping a new update before the end of the year. So I'll probably do some more stuff on that.
And I'm thinking about starting up a second Dungeons and Dragons game for uh, and I told you about this, but if that comes to fruition, who knows? Like it's the moon is the limit.
The sky is
The sky is not even the limit. The moon is the limit. We're going past the atmosphere, baby.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a really bad Rick and Morty reference.
What was the really bad Rick and Morty reference?
Going past the sky, baby.
Oh, is that
Yes.
is that?
I just love how you just keep making all these references whenever in a call, and I just call them out as you make them. You're like, oh wait, what?
I didn't know that was a reference. What was the other one?
It was during the D&D sessions.
It was it Pirates of the Caribbean?
I don't
No,
remember.
that was Logan said Pirates of the Caribbean. What did you say? You also called me out for something.
Um, Game of Thrones.
No, oh yeah, that was. But you said that like this is the exact plot of something else.
I don't remember.
It was
You can always look it up later.
yeah. Well, I can't watch the yeah. Well, Jab, you're welcome. We're trying to Jab. You'd be in my new session because I thought about it. I didn't want to introduce all these new players into this one that we've had been going for like a year at this point.
Mhm.
So Jab, if you want to play, I think Andrew Clark has already said he's into it, and Optimus has said he's into it. So if you want to be that next person, it's all yours. And
Yeah.
we can get into it next week if we have enough people. But yeah, I mean, besides that, I think we're pretty much done.
I just want to playtest homebrew content that I made.
Yeah, and dude, you're totally free to do that. I think someone should play test my we should workshop my battle medic idea.
Dude, we could do that now.
No, we're not gonna do that
I
now.
can make it on D&D Beyond.
The battle medic idea?
Yeah, I can
It's
make
very
it.
simple. You are able to you have like you have extra you have an extra action surge and you have an extra second wind and you get to hand them out to people. That's the idea for battle medic, and maybe like that's like the level 3 thing.
Extra action surge that can be handed out. Oh, jeez.
Jab says he's warning me that he's never played Dungeons and Dragons in his life. Well, I gotta break it to you, Jab. Neither have I.
Nobody's ever really played.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I just throw stuff at the wall, see
Yeah.
what sticks, make all my players angry.
Well, I think. Do you have anything
What I
to add, or?
I I'll add what I lack in DMing ability. I make up for in world building ability. And by world building, I mean stealing stuff from a bunch of other IPs.
I mean, that's what every author ever did.
I know, right? There's nothing new under the sun. So my combination of said things, like I even stole the name of a country.
Yeah, when you realize Disney has the rights to things they haven't created yet.
No, I have nothing more to add. Spirited Away next week probably. I'm excited.
Okay. Yeah. Can't wait for next week. And yeah, we'll see everyone